Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome back to our mini podcast series talking about the NAR settlement. I've got Lars Hedenborg. I've known Lars for since I think 2008, and watched him grow this coaching business and his real estate business, and then a huge empire in his current brokerage. And so, Lars, welcome.
Yeah, it's exciting times for the industry.
Yeah.
So I appreciate just chatting with you here.
Well, I want to talk about NAR and the settlement and kind of what is the uncertainty? Why? I guess my question for you is, why are people freaking out?
Yeah, I think there's so much talk about like a time of just fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and there are so many folks that are generally real estate agents get preyed upon, in terms of just like headlines and clickbait, and so there's just a lot of folks that are out there. Even inside the industry saying, oh, I'm glad I'm a listing agent. I'd hate to just be focused on buyers. That whole side of the business is going away. Or, the mainstream media is like the end of real estate agents,
Right.
and it's really like, when you boil it down, it's very simple. Uh, Not that there's even a winner in it, because I think the attorneys are the only ones that actually won and collected a lot of the money. But really what they just wanted agents to negotiate with their clients independently. So it's like, if you ever have taken a listing before and you've sat down with a seller and said, hey, listen, it's going to cost you money to sell your home, and I'm going to get paid that money, and here's what I'm going to do to get paid. They want you to be able to do that with a buyer independent of that listing agent, you know, and that's the only change.
Right.
So the reality is, it will hurt a lot of agents, because there are a lot of agents that sort of navigate towards the buy side of the business because they're not comfortable asking for money.
Right.
But it's not a big change. Like, if you've ever listed a home, you can list a buyer. So the mindset shift just has to be, stay out of the FUD. Don't, maybe one trusted resource, that you can go to on maybe a weekly basis. Like, I feel like so many agents are just consuming a bunch of stuff that's not helping them get any stronger on how they'll present to buyers in this new world. I have strong opinions on what that needs to look like. We can talk about like how you need to really kind of show your value to buyers, if you're going to exist in the future. But yeah, I just think it's a fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I think a lot of agents are going to, and generally people don't like change. So I think I love change. I think this is awesome. I think the industry needs a shakeup. I think it's going to elevate professionalism. But that's kind of like, all in a nutshell, kind of my thoughts
Yeah.
on it, and what's going on.
No, I love that. And there's three things from what you said that I want to come back to. But let's start with the last thing you said, which is elevate. It's really going to elevate. And almost everybody I've talked to that has a successful business is saying what you just said. Change is good, and this is going to make us step up and be more professional and have to be better at what we're doing. And yeah, I think I don't know if there's a question in that. It's more just a common theme that I'm seeing from everybody who seems to have a successful business embraces this and is looking for the opportunity, versus half of the people out there will find any excuse to not work,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah. And when you think about the opportunity that this will present to the industry, you will never have to work with a buyer that's not your client anymore. Like, think about that. Just think about, if you're fearful and you think this will impact your income going forward, it probably means that you don't have a strong value proposition to buyers. And there are things that you can do to work on that over the next few months until this kind of hits the local MLSs.
a common theme that I'm seeing is people who are successful are saying, this is great. It's gonna make us step up and be, elevate, and there's opportunity in here. And then you went into, you never have to work with a buyer that isn't your client again.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
just
think that's a super relevant thing that people don't understand. But I think the better topic to come back to is, you said people are going to have to better show their value to a buyer's agent. And that's right along with people aren't comfortable asking for money. That's why they gravitate to that buy side of the business. And so that was the first kind of action item I took from that. Like if you are a buyer's agent and you're fearful right now, the number one thing that I'm getting from you is you got to start being really comfortable articulating the value that you bring and expecting and asking to get paid for that.
Yeah. So when I look at the business, and luckily I learned, like, my first coach out of the gate, and I was only like 1 month in the business and I got a coach. He taught me this concept of, you have to present to buyers. You do not work with a buyer unless they're under a loyalty agreement with you. So I just learned that, like, 1 month into the business, that I was not allowed to go out and show a home to a buyer unless I sat them down first and I got them to sign a piece of paper saying they were loyal to me, with the percentage I charged as a buyer agent, with the transaction fee that I charged. So that was like, what, 16 years ago, and so done that thousands and thousands of times and scaled a team and had that process in place. But every state, well, not every state, my state has a listing agreement and a buyer agent agreement.
Yeah.
So it's the same concept.
Right.
Like, you just have to be able to, now it's almost easier that, the law requires that we get together and have a conversation about agency, specifically, the position you put yourself in when you're calling on a yard sign and you're talking to listing agent, or if you have hired a buyer agent. So I just
Right.
want to get the opportunity to, talk to you about what I do to help my buyers. And while we get together, I can give you, backstage access to the MLS and get you priority access to properties before even other agents. So you still want to put that gold brick out there,
Right.
because buyers don't really want an agent. They just want, they just want a home.
Right.
But just so think about your listing process. Our listing
Right.
process would be like, we'd set the consultation, we'd send a bomb video or some kind of video saying, team's looking forward to getting together with you. We send out a brownie package. We send out a pre-list package with a whole bunch of guides in it. We confirm the appointment. We get the appointment on the actual calendar. We show up. We have a seller playbook that we follow, exactly choreographed every step of the seller consultation. And then we have a seller packet that we go through, and we have all this stuff. Like, think about your listing process. There's very rarely can you go in and just wing it and get a
Right.
listing agreement signed if you're in a
Right.
competitive situation. You just have to model that on the buyer side.
Yeah.
So we would just invite, buyers into our office to meet, and we'd have some gold brick that we would throw out there. We'll get them, special access to homes that, they can't see on Zillow, they can't see on any online portal. They can even beat out other agents with the access that we have. And while we get together, we'll also explain how we work.
Yeah.
And then you just sit them down and you give them an actual presentation. You need to have an actual, like, PowerPoint presentation where you just, you say exactly how you work, the roadmap, the things that can go wrong and why they want an agent. And then the only difference is, when it comes down to compensation, Curtis, we charge X percent plus a transaction fee of, $795. We will, seek compensation from the seller. We've got an addendum in our MLS, where we seek compensation from the seller. If there's any deficiency, we'll talk about it. You'll be responsible for the shortfall, but most sellers are offering compensation.
Right.
And then you just move on and you have them sign it.
Yeah.
And
do you think
most sellers will offer compensation.
Yeah, that was my next question. Do you think that sellers are going to continue? And I think they will, as long as we as an industry understand that you have people will pay for things that make sense and have value. So as soon as I say, look, we have to create incentive. We're going to pay for marketing one way or the other, right? And the best way to pay for marketing is to give incentive for the buyers to come to us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
In our listing process, I mean, we have like a 7-step process. And one of the steps is we just call it our buyer agent network. So, Mr. Seller, we actively advertise your property to every agent in the market. We call this our buyer agent network, not just with our brokerage or my team. It's every brokerage that we want every agent that has a buyer to come see your property. And the tool we use to do that, We can't call it a co-broke now, and that's off script. But
Right,
the
right.
tool we use to do that is we will typically offer some sort of incentive via a seller concession for that buyer to be able to pay their agent. And that's literally the difference in the
Right.
listing agreement. And then, when it comes down to sign whatever your listing agreement for your state is going to look like in July or whenever this comes into, it's going to account for that. It's going to
Right.
have a field that says, seller agrees to pay X dollars in concessions.
Right.
And that is where agents are going to get compensated. And there are some listing agents that are going to take the easy way out and they're going to say, we charge 3%, whatever, let the agent deal with their buyer. And then those agents will submit their offers with that special one pager that says this offer is subject to, X% or
But
whatever.
this has come up before too, but I that is going to happen. It's already happening. We're seeing that in a lot of the forums. People are complaining about 3%, 0% on the buy side. And I think it won't take long before there will be data, just like there is around for sale by owners. We just know that a for sale by owner home on average sells for $70,000 less than a home represented by an agent. That's the numbers for the whole country. And so it won't be long before you'll start to see in the MLS, in your market, you'll be able to pull up those that had no seller concessions and those that do, and just show them, like, do you want to net more on your house? Then it's worth paying for the right marketing because you'll net more money in the end,
And
just like you do
I
with a good
think
agent.
I think that field will not be an MLS. So
Yeah.
so I think what part of the litigation, part of the
Yeah. It can't
proposed,
be in the MLS.
yeah, there can't be any comment on anything financial as it relates to
Yeah.
paying for buyer
Right.
expenses. So I don't know if there'll be data on it, but for sure
Well,
that, like,
you'll know what agents never do a seller
yeah.
concession. You can just pull up what's their list to sell ratio and what's their price to
Yeah,
sell
so
ratios.
yeah,
And
I
yeah,
I just I don't think it's going to be a nothing burger. Like, I think there will be an impact, but I think strong agents will easily be able to navigate
yeah,
this.
yeah.
And
Well,
it's really, I think, unfortunately, I think there are some buyers that will get hurt in the process. I think buyers that think that, like, this is a major opportunity for them to save some money. I think there are legit. I mean, I wouldn't be in the industry if I didn't think that what we did was valuable.
right.
But I think there are legit pitfalls that buyers that think they can do it on their own, or in a competitive bidding situation, if there are buyers that can afford to not have their agent seek compensation from the seller and they can pay them on their own, that may put financially weaker
Yeah,
buyers in a worse position. So I can see that happening.
yeah,
I mean, so I think it's gonna be different, but it's not gonna be the end
right.
of anything.
So let's just touch real quick before we wrap it up on the list side. Are you recommending to your team and your agents that are 100% buyers agents saying, "Hey, why don't you try to pick up some inventory to have more stability in
I
your
still,
business?"
yeah. So I still think, you want to be able to focus on, the expression list to last. We've got systems in real estate B school where you take a listing and then you could monetize it in all these different ways. But the focus of a strong agent is, how do I take a listing every week?
Right.
What am I going to do today to take a listing this week? Or two listings, whatever your goals. It should be answering that question on a regular basis,
Yeah.
not how can I buy Zillow leads, and work with a buyer. Like, you're just putting your whole, your livelihood in someone else's hands. And, so I don't condone that way of doing it. Just go out and ask everyone you see all the time, hey, listen, the market's tight. Who do you know? Someone at church, someone, that came into the dry cleaner that you own here, a neighbor that you want to get rid of that might have a home to sell.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
ask that question, 25 times a day, I promise you'll be busier
Right.
than you ever thought was possible, whether
Right.
it's a past client or someone in your sphere or your Facebook messaging people, that you're sort of Facebook friends with. That's the leading indicator of success in a real
Yeah.
estate business. How many times you can ask that question
Right.
every day.
Well, and if people need more people to ask that question to, that's why we exist. So you can ask that question to expireds and FISBOs and circle prospecting and vacant rental owners and all kinds of stuff. So, um, Lars, thank you so much. I think, more than anything, we're not trying to feed on the fear of the uncertainty, but we're trying to create some stability and some hope for people that are kind of freaking out that this is still the right industry that gives a tremendous amount of opportunity. The sky is the limit. It's only up to you how you want to build a business. If they want to build a business and need some help, where do they go to find your stuff, Lars?
First, they go to theredx.com. To your point there, I have had lots of monthly. I mean, this business is like everyone's like, get someone on monthly subscription. And that's like, but I've had lots of those subscriptions, none of which have been as, I don't know how many years it's been, but never have I ever thought of letting that subscription go. The relative value there is just obscene, especially with the tech and some of the stuff you guys are doing with social and all of that. So quick plug there. And I really, truly mean that. For me, just realestatebschool.com. And the B is for business, so we help agents that want to kind of put some foundational systems in place, or even go to milliondollaragentmethod.com. It's a 90-day implementation that we just built out that's working really, really well. So milliondollaragentmethod.com.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Lars, thank you so much for your expertise and influence in the industry, and we'll chat with everybody soon.
Yep. See you guys.